Capitol Hill. They just wrapped up a vote on that amendment to the FISA, that warrantless surveillance bill. NBC's Ryan Nobles is back with us. Ryan, what did we hear? What did we see?
Well, Peter, a remarkable development on the House floor, something we rarely, if ever, see, and that was that the vote on this amendment that would require warrants attached to 702 of the FISA program failed. So the national security and intelligence communities of the Biden administration have to be breathing a huge sigh of relief. Votes to pass and would have really changed dramatically the way they approach the surveillance of foreign individuals who they believe have ties to terrorism and are potential threats to the country.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which I've worked with a lot throughout my military and contracting career, has designated me and my group, American Contingency, a terrorist organization? Yeah, that's right. They call it MVEs because they love acronyms. Militia Violent Extremists.
With just a single text, it can bypass your phone's security and install spyware that grants complete access to your device.
It can access every message you've ever sent. It can access every message you've ever received. It can access every photo, every video, every email. It can turn on your microphone. It can turn on the microphone even when you're not using a phone call and just record what you're doing in the room. It can turn on your camera. It can record what's on your screen. It can access your GPS. It can monitor your location.
And it can do all of this without you ever knowing. The spyware technology that makes this possible is called Pegasus.
And over a year after the riots, the FBI releases drone footage showing the Freddie Gray protests here in Baltimore. The videos were released earlier this week following Freedom of Information Act requests filed by the Baltimore Sun and American Civil Liberties Union. A total of 10 drone flights filmed 36 hours of footage. The FBI says the surveillance was used to help law enforcement monitor large crowds and search for potential violence and riots.
The night before his assassination, King gave one of the most remarkable speeches of his whole career. One of the themes was the idea that protest itself was really in peril. You were seeing crackdowns all across the country, increasing concerns about violence, and he was really making a claim that in Memphis, it wasn't just the rights of workers, it wasn't just racial justice that was on the line, but it was also the right to speech, the right to protest, the First Amendment itself.
If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
As thousands of college graduates take the stage in celebration tonight, at other universities, a stark contrast with more arrests made by police breaking up pro-Palestinian encampments. At the University of Pennsylvania, police in riot gear physically removing demonstrators, detaining 33 people. And at the University of Arizona, law enforcement using tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse protesters. Police say rocks and water bottles were thrown at officers.
Federal law enforcement officers were in Portland, Oregon Friday to crack down on protesters as part of the Trump administration's new executive order to protect U.S. monuments. Multiple videos posted online show officers without clear identification badges using force and transporting those arrested in unmarked vehicles. More than a dozen people were arrested Friday, according to media reports, but there was no immediate confirmation from authorities. The U.S. Justice Department did not respond to a request for comment on the arrests and any related charges.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
violence erupting.
Police now advancing on protesters. Retreating on what is a baseball.
We've all seen the images, and they put to the test two fundamental American principles. The first is the right to free speech and for people to peacefully assemble and make their voices heard. The second is the rule of law. Law. Both must be upheld. We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent. The American people are heard.
Get back!
Amid calls to end police brutality, disturbing scenes unfolding. This one in Seattle, an officer using his knee to pin down a protester until his fellow officer pushes it away.
Hours of video have been released by the attorney for a man recently acquitted on charges for firing a gun at police in self-defense. The footage shows police had been firing their rubber bullets without warning from an unmarked van. It was past curfew just 5 days after George Floyd's murder.
You guys are out hunting people now, and it's just a nice change of tempo.
Yep, agreed.
These people.
New body camera footage from that night shows Minneapolis police officers talked about hunting down protesters on the streets.
We're unarmed! What the f*** are we gonna do to you? We're out here peacefully protesting! This is America! We can say what we want!
Officers even appeared to give props to each other when hitting the protesters with non-lethal rounds.
Gotcha!
Cases of police brutality on African Americans have sparked public uproar in recent years. These cases have called into question the practice of qualified immunity for police officers. Qualified immunity is a type of legal immunity that protects a government official from civil lawsuits. When invoked, it provides immunity from having to go through the costs of a trial. The legal concept frequently appears in cases involving police officers, but it can apply to executive branch officials. If applied, it shields officers from liability for all actions taken on the job except those that violate clearly established law.